Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, a property developer in KZN is claiming that a construction mafia is threatening them. The JSE-listed residential property developer Calgro M3 is now pulling out of 2 projects. CEO Vikas Latakan says the situation is so dire, the lives of his employees are constantly being threatened. He says the group is heavily armed with AK-47 and makes demands and threats. Deputy eThekwini Mayor Philani Mavundla joins us now for his reaction. Mr. Mavundla, good morning and thank you very much for your time. I'm sure you would have heard that interview. Firstly, your reaction to the decision by Calgro to pull out.
Good morning to you and the South Africans. Well, we are surprised with them saying they're completely pulling out of KZN because of what is so-called construction mafia. In actual fact, we need every and any developer that has a capacity to assist eThekwini with our shortage of housing development. However, having said that, all private business people, they have a right to run their business the way they see it fits. I can safely tell you that around eThekwini as it stands right now, we've engaged with all the business forums as a municipality, and quite frankly, the situation is far much better than what it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I can tell you now that as you will be aware that we had quite a lot of projects after we had the floods. Not a single project that has been stopped. Now, when I received the news yesterday, I went to the housing team to try and follow up what exactly has happened. And I was told that that particular company, yes, came in the Bridge City. They did a beautiful development. However, their style of doing things was completely different because there was no involvement of ourselves as a municipality. The structures that we have in place that takes care of how the local business forums and other local business get involved, that was non-existent. We are very sorry that he has decided to take a decision to move, but I can tell you there are other listed companies in Durban that are still stationed here. They're doing work as usual.
But is it mandatory for them to work hand in hand with government in this instance, where they would have to be part of that social facilitation process? Because to some it would look like they would always need authorities to assist them just to operate or work in that particular province.
Well, let me explain this. In South Africa, as far back as 1997, we had what was called affirmative procurement policy. Some people were against that. Only the government was then doing that. But then there's been charter after charter. We even have what is called construction charter, which I know very well because I come from that background. But you do have companies that decide that what is theirs is theirs. They'll come and do development, take the money, and really don't care about the local business people, which does seems to have been the case here. Because if that was not the case, we wouldn't be sitting where we are sitting. Personally, I would still like to talk to these developers and really find out what were their issues. Having said that, again, if the normal process that we use in Durban was followed, I don't think it would have even made news as it is doing. Finally, everything that's got to do with Africans when they're asking just a share of the happiness, it does get labeled in a certain way. Like this one now is called a construction mafia. You'll remember that during the 2010 project, we had the collusion, which was not called corruption, simply because it was not done by African, it was done by whites. Now, even this, when the small African contractors are asking to participate, and then they get called a mafia. We are not aware of any grouping that is called mafia in Durban, but we are fully aware of business forums that seems to be asking to participate on some projects.
So there was no extortion. There was never a point where there would be weapons that are used in some of these instances, because for the longest time, at least what we had reported on, when there used to be a forum called Dela Ngokubona, which has now reformed, they to a certain extent had conceded that their methods were not necessarily those that were within the law. In most instances, when they went to these particular sites and disrupt or interrupt the program, or at least interrupt the continuation of the building. So in that instance, you're saying you've never heard of that. You've never heard that there were some forums that were using their own means that were not within the law.
Well, in this case, since nothing was reported to us by a company, we can't for sure say there was or there wasn't. But what I can safely tell the nation here is that the area of KwaMashu is got their own business forum that is just the people of KwaMashu. They look after everything, where it be security of the community, of their schools, of everything, of every business that is there. Those people, they're doing a good job. They are a business chamber in their own right. But in this particular case, we never heard of anything. It's possible it has happened, but we wouldn't have known, because this particular one has never ever had anything to do with us. I've asked our official, they said in the beginning they tried to get closer to them, but it was like, no. We are private, we do things in our own way, and it was left that way.